take it. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Impossible!
Yokai Watch, Wibble Wobble!
Wibwobbers, Robbett here. 2 years ago, I posted my first question to the Yokai Watch community. How do befrienders work? The truth is, no one really knows. 3 months ago, I went forth to figure it out, and it's taken me 4,000 battles to do it. First things first. Befriending is the single most important thing in the game. You might say, Robbett, no way, tracers are the most important. Or, being good at score attack. But the bottom line is, without yokai, you can't do anything, so ultimately it's about collecting or befriending the right yokai. So, what do I mean by befriending? Befriending is the term I use when a yokai drops during a battle and either joins your medallion or adds to their ultimate level. A befriending can happen at any time, unless it's a boss, unless you've already maxed the yokai out, or if it's some special event circumstance. There are a huge amount of theories about what influences befriending, and I'll try and confirm or dispel all of them. There are 2 main ways people know about influencing befriending. First, using food. Almost every food has 4 types, expressed by hearts, although some have less. The more hearts a food has, the more a yokai will like you, and the more that food costs. You feed a yokai during battle, it says they're happy you did that, and then you hope for a befriending. You can feed any or all yokai in a battle, but you can never befriend more than 1 yokai per battle. The second way to influence befriendings is to use befrienders. These are yokai with ultimates that help befriend. They're also called charmers or popularity yokai. Currently in Wibwob, we have 7 befrienders. We have the D rank Molar Petite, the C rank Schmoopy, and the B rank Life is Parfait. After that, we have 2 A ranks, Casanova and Pookevil, the S rank Dandoodle, and the attacker befriender SS rank Chocolina. Puni has another 5. The D rank Q-Pistol, Pookevil's other half Pinkapoo, a B rank, and Mifu, another B rank. Additionally, there are 2 collab event befrienders, Sengokshi Casanova and Korokoro's Obochama, both A ranks. Befrienders' ultimates can each be used up to 3 times per battle, and with the exception of Dandoodle, they only target a single enemy yokai. Dandoodle is an all befriender, his effect works against all enemy yokai in the battle. The third way that many people know about is the shrine on the Mount Wildwood map. Once a day, you can pay 100 Y money to get a blessing from the shrine. Normally there are 3 word bubbles, and this is what we call the normal shrine bonus. Sometimes the words won't show up after all the periods, and that is what is generally referred to as the ... shrine bonus. Beyond that, there are a ton of theories I've heard about befriending, and I even wondered about some of these in the past. What about how much damage you do? What if the score ends in a 5? What if you finish in fever? What if you end with an attacker's ultimate versus just popping yokai? On the surface, especially if you haven't played an enormous amount of battles, they might seem reasonable. After all, there's a huge amount of seemingly random behavior in this game, and there's gotta be some logic to explain it. To that end, there's even been a bunch of investigation in the past that my friends and I have done. Out of those investigations, various theories have emerged. One theory was about when to use the ... shrine bonus or not. Another was making sure that you don't have 99 items of the type a yokai drops, or you may eliminate double drop possibilities, etc. The goal of this video is to eliminate all that speculation and replace it with sweet data and facts. I can't know how the math inside the game works, but I can tell you what the end result is. In order to get all of that data, I had to do a bunch of things. 1. I used Puni for my large-scale data collection simply because there's no spirit limit. Every time I found something in Puni, I double-checked it in Wibwob, so no worries there. You'll see me bouncing back and forth between the 2 games. Next, I focused almost all my testing on befriending Signibble. Who cares about a D rank, right? The reason I did it is because he fuses into Signaton, and I have a ton of gigahertz orbs. Considering I befriended him over 300 times during testing, I needed a way to always have clean data and to start from the beginning at Soultimate level 1. So with all that said, let's start from the start. The first thing I did was to get a baseline. No shrine, no food, no befrienders. I just used my usual grinding team. I made sure that my Suspicione is maxed so that I can't befriend him. I'm using New Yoma City because Signibble has the most hit points here, and that will be important later on. The result of all that is, at least for Signibble and New Yoma City, it's a 7% befriending rate with no befriending influences. That is, I played 100 battles and he dropped 7 times. I've replayed this several hundred more times. I did it with all of my X-Orbs maxed since he dropped small and medium ones, still 7%. I did it without using any Soultimates, still 7%. I did it outside of Fever, still 7%. I did it without using any attackers at all, still 7%. I did it with Continues, still 7%. I played Signibble on other maps, still 7%. I played against other D ranks, still 7%. To recap, how you defeat a yokai has no influence on whether you befriend them or not. Feel free to continue to express your superstition, however, in whatever way makes you feel most in control. The 7% number is really interesting, but I'm less concerned with the actual drop rate of a specific yokai or rank, and more concerned with how other factors influence the chance of a befriending. Now that I have a baseline, it's time to change some of the variables. First up, going to the shrine. I have what I'm calling the normal shrine blessing. We got the full text back. Now I go ahead and play against Signibble 100 times again, and see how many befriendings I get. No food, no befrienders. Since I'm doing these 100 battle runs, I know some of you are going to say, "But Robbett, I thought you had decreasing chances of befriending a yokai the more you played them." Intrepid Robbett Watch viewer, I thought that too. However, I haven't found any data to support it. As a matter of course, I always played 100 battles against some other foe or foes in between my data gathering runs. I also tended to wait until the next calendar day to try again. The net result is that I found nothing tied to how many runs I had played, at least up until 100 battles. Related to this is the question of whether you have a bonus to befriend a yokai when you haven't befriended them previously. Similarly, I didn't find hard data to suggest that there's a bonus to the first befriending. What I did see was a slight uptick in befriending when I started my new Soultimate 1 battles, but nothing specifically tied to the first battle, and no diminished befriendings by the 100th battle. One theory might be that the rate for befriending a yokai drops as that yokai's Soultimate level rises, rather than the number of battles played. Unfortunately, I have no data to prove nor disprove this, as it would be exceedingly difficult to test. Back to the shrine. Normal blessing. The result is surprising. It has 0 effect. Every other test I did, I ran it with and without the normal blessing from the shrine, and in every test it had 0 impact. The normal blessing from the shrine, at least in terms of befriending, does nothing. If the shrine does nothing, why waste your 100 Y going to it? The answer is because you might get the super blessing, but it took me a long time to get it to show up, so let's cover some other stuff first. The first big area to focus on is food. With and without shrine, feeding 1 heart food to Dear Signibble is the next 100 battles. The result of which is that he was befriended 10 times. All of these numbers might vary by 1 or 2, but roughly speaking, we can say that 1 heart food is roughly a 50% increase on top of the base rate, which for D rank seems to be 7%. Next, I did the same thing with 2 heart food. The answer is 12%, or about a 75% bonus on top of the base rate. Continuing on this trend, I'm sure you can guess what's next. 3 heart food. This time it made it up to 14 befriendings for a full 100% increase on the base rate, doubling it. That leaves us with 4 heart food. The food yokai like most, makes them really like you, and it costs a lot of Y money. 4 heart food jumped up to a whopping 30 befriendings. That's a 325% increase beyond the base rate, more than quadrupling what would happen without food. You probably already knew that 4 heart food was better than everything else, but it's important to know by how much. It's also important to realize that given how low your chance is, even for a D rank, that 4 heart food can really make it manageable. Of course, we all know that fighting higher rank yokai means it's harder to befriend them, right? Well, we didn't actually know, but we assumed. It turns out, we were right. I'm here with Mr. Chihuahua, who's an A rank. 100 battles, no shrine, no food, no befrienders. By the end of this video, you're going to never want to see any sped up footage of befriending attempts again. But absolutely do not stop watching. I guarantee you there is some really important stuff in here that will meaningfully change how you play the game. As for Chihuahua, it turns out that if you don't try and influence the befriending at all, he drops once. 1% of the time. That's pretty nutty. Since we're talking about an A rank, I also tested hidden stages with an A rank. You might remember me always preaching that yokai on hidden stages are harder to befriend. Well, they are, but only because they tend to be higher rank. I fought Sonanda a whole bunch during the Holiday Ohajiki in Puni, and the result was a 1% befriending rate with no food and no befrienders. When I added 3 heart food into the mix, we'd expect a doubling of the rate, and indeed we got it. 2% befriendings. So far we've covered food and a variety of theories that have come up, but let's get back to the shrine for a minute. For as long as I had to wait to get a super shrine to pop up, this reveal is going to be quick. We've already found out that the normal shrine seems to give no befriending bonus. The super shrine? It doubles the base rate of befriending. That's equivalent to giving a yokai 3 heart food. So what happens when you have the super shrine and give the yokai 3 heart food? Simple. It's still just double the base rate. What happens if you have the super shrine and give the yokai 4 heart food? It's a 325% bonus, just like if you had given the yokai 4 heart food with no shrine bonus. Simply put, super shrine and food do not stack. You get the best of whichever is higher. It's effectively giving free 3 heart food to every yokai you meet for the day you have the bonus. That leaves us with befrienders. Those mainly pink yokai that promise to make befriending easier. The first thing I did was test using 3 A rank befrienders, 1 time each. No food, both with and without shrine. Out of 100 battles, I got 10 befriendings. While that's equivalent to 1 heart food, I'm going to stay away from that comparison because the befriending rate should change based on which befrienders you use. The next thing I did was use those same 3 A rank befrienders, but I used them 3 times each, the maximum. Out of 100 battles, I got 14 befriendings. That's 100% bonus or doubling of the base befriending rate. Not exactly linear, given I did 3 times more befriending ultimates, but it's definitely an improvement. Still, it would be a lot easier to just use 4 heart food and you'd get a better rate. That begs the next question, what happens when you use food and befrienders? Test number 52, 3 A rank befrienders, 1 time each, and 4 heart food. 4 heart food should give us a befriending rate of 30% by itself. When I used 3 A ranks once each, that was a 50% bonus, or an addition of 3 befriendings from the base of 7 befriendings. The good news is that not only do food and befrienders stack, but they're actually multiplicative. You take the 7% base rate, you multiply in the 325% bonus for the 4 heart food, and you multiply in the 50% bonus for the befrienders. You should end up with a 45% befriending rate, but I got 42. Whatever, it's close enough with RNG. I'm satisfied that I know what's happening mathematically. This is where we take it up a notch and go full tilt Boogie. Let's go 4 hard food, our 5 best befrienders, an S rank, 3 A ranks, and a B rank, and use them 3 times each. The full befriending team. The one that Wibwobbers are afraid to use in past battles. This is why I had to choose Signable on New Yoma City. I needed him to have enough hit points that I could get 15 ultimates up reliably. It takes about 5 hours to do 100 battles in which you unleash 15 ultimates and have no attackers to finish off the second yokai. So what do you get? You get an 87% befriending rate. Holy wow. To recap, Shrine, not really worth it. Food, go for the 4 heart. Befrienders, yes please. From here, it gets messy. There's no New Yoma City and Wibble Wobble yet I needed to verify this befriending rate. Turns out that Pandal, yes dear viewers, it's Pandal time. The Pandal on the 6th floor of the Divine Paradise is reasonably robust. I went through the whole thing again with slightly different befrienders because of the limits of what we have in Wibwob. I used Casanova, Pookevil, Parfait, Schmoopy, and Molar Petite. Even though I maxed out the other yokai on the stage, I wanted it to be super clean, so I didn't bring Dandoodle. I also didn't bother with food since we know how it stacks. I did this in Puni first as a baseline since I had changed things up. The end result of 15 befriending ultimates with this befriending team was 17 befriendings out of 100 battles. If I would have fed him 4 hard food, by my math it would have been around a 72% befriending rate due to the multiplication. Alright, so I just go over to Wibwob and do the same thing, and nothing. Absolutely nothing. Not a single befriending. How can that be possible? Actually, I did befriend Pandal. One time I forgot to target him, I used 15 ultimates on another yokai, and I managed to befriend Pandal instead. I repeated the Pandal test over and over, but the bottom line is, there's a bug in Wibwob. If you use 4 befrienders 3 ultimates each, still no befriendings. Yet if you use less ultimates, let's say only 1 each of 5 befrienders, then it works. It seems like the bug impacts you only when you use too many ultimates, but it works fine in Puni. My only explanation is that I know we're on an older version of the app than Puni is, and maybe this was fixed in Puni before they got 5 befrienders. I simply don't know. I've let my level 5 contact know about this issue, but until we know it's resolved, I would suggest not using too many befriending ultimates. While I can't test this at scale for past battles, I did try it several times. I was unable to befriend a past battle using the all befriender technique. Pretty serious bummer at the end there, but I hope you found this super enlightening. It feels awesome to finally have an understanding of what matters when it comes to befriending. If you feel the same way, please befriend the like button and tell all of your Wibwob and Puni friends so they know as well. For all the latest Wibwob and Puni information, including hard-hitting insights into the game, subscribe to me on YouTube and Twitter. Until the next video, keep on befriending.